Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a 2007 film directed by Edgar Wright, based off the comic books by Brian Lee O'Malley. By itself, the source material is littered with references to nerd culture. Since Edgar Wright is a master of visual comedy and attention to detail, it's only fair that he bring over this flair for Easter eggs to the silver screen. So today, I wanted to take a look at a few of my favorite Easter eggs from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. To drag audiences into the world of the film, Edgar Wright and members of his crew created everything from fake movie posters to fake articles surrounding characters in the film's world. Movie star Lucas Lee has a few fake posters and articles written about him, as does the fictional band The Clash at Demon Head. Some of these aren't even seen by audiences, but they're created nonetheless to give this magical land of Toronto a huge sense of true immersion. Scott changes shirts in this movie. A lot. A few of these shirts actually hold some ironic significance outside of the film's world. For example, Scott's Plum Tree shirt is in reference to the band of the same name, who wrote the song named Scott Pilgrim, from which O'Malley drew Scott Pilgrim's name. Another band tee is that of the Smashing Pumpkins, whose initials are the same as Scott's. Oh, and side note about those shirts, most of the time when Scott changes them, it's to match Ramona's hair. So, there are a lot of references to video games in this movie. I'll try to make this quick. 90% of the band names in the movie are taken from old NES games. Sex Bob-Omb, inspired by Mario. Crash and the Boy's name is taken from an NES game of the same name, as is also the case for the Clash at Demon Head, although this can also be taken as a reference to The Clash.
Interesting story. We discovered from Mr. Brian Lee O'Malley that The Clash at Demon Head was actually a video game, and not only is it a video game, but it was the first video game he ever got.
A couple of the movie's sound effects are ripped straight from the Sega Genesis classic, Sonic the Hedgehog. The KO sound effect that plays when Scott finally defeats Gideon is ripped right from Street Fighter Alpha 3. So, little nerdy side tangent, but when Scott is playing the bass line from Final Fantasy II, he's actually playing the bass line from Final Fantasy IV, which was called Final Fantasy II back in 1991, because Final Fantasy II and III weren't released outside of Japan at that point. Multiple times in the film, we can find references to Nintendo's classic series, The Legend of Zelda. The transition sound in the beginning of the film is actually the title screen sound from A Link to the Past. Right after this, we hear the whistle sound effect from Ocarina of Time.
22.
We're shown a few more Zelda sound effects within this same scene. When Scott faces off against Nega Scott at the end of the movie, this could be interpreted as a reference to Dark Link, as both have the same color scheme and glowing red eyes. This one is actually pretty simple and in your face, but the logo for Gideon and his record label is actually just an upside-down Triforce. Finally, the music they use in that hallway sequence is actually a tune most Zelda fans will recognize, as it's the Great Fairy Fountain music. Edgar Wright actually had to ask and write Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto himself in order to get permission to use the music. Wright called this music nursery rhymes to a generation. So, that's all the Easter eggs I have today, but I know fully well that's not all of them. This movie had so much work put into it, and it really shows every time I rewatch it, which is every week. So, if you'd want to see more content from me, consider leaving a like or subscribing. They're really great motivators to keep me going on and doing what I'm doing. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next video.